Oh, well, whoever missed it, missed it. So, yeah, so being able to use, take advantage of the kids, the knowledge they have. Summer is out. They're going to have a lot of time on their hands. Use that time and put them to work in doing AI. The 3D printing that my son learned was last year because my husband makes sure that every year they acquire a skill that they're able to use out there in the real world. They have to do that during summer. So this skill, 3D printing skill, he was kicking against it. And he didn't want to do it. He's on the spectrum, has Asperger's. Once they're fixated on one thing, once they want to do one thing, that's all they want to do. But my husband was able to expound his mind that, hey, you need to do more and get into technology. And now he loves it and he's doing it and using it for school. All right. Let's see. The last thing that I want to talk about before we wrap up is passive income. The importance of having passive income that does not depend on your active labor. So one of the questions that I want to ask is, can you tell us, are you able to articulate what the ratio is of your passive income to your active income, right? If you're earning income, let's say you're earning $5,000 every month or $2,000 every month or $10,000 every month, what percentage of that is passive income? And if you have a lower percentage, what plans are you making so that you can start having more passive income? Because the older you get, really the way of building wealth is when you're younger, you have all the time in the world, the energy. That's when you're starting your career. But as you get older and you start to get up there in age, it's important that you start building passive investments that don't depend on you actively working in order to sustain you. So that, like those in the government where they're pushing people towards retirement or something happens to disrupt your business or you lose your job, you're able to now rely on that passive income in order to sustain yourself. That's what it's called becoming financially free. So, how many of us have passive income? And is that passive income growing every year? Or what's the ratio? Do you know the ratio between your passive income and your active income? All right, anybody? Let's see. I'm trying to put people on the spot. Joe, are you available to talk to us about passive income? I know you're the passive income guru. Are you available to talk to? There he is. Hi, Joe.
I don't know about
Welcome
guru.
back from wherever you're traveling from.
Well, my daughter just graduated this weekend, so that
Oh,
was good.
wow. Congratulations. Wow,
Yes,
kids have grown.
I tell
Wow.
you, it's never a dull day. Okay, so passive income. Yeah, I mean, as you know, I do a lot of rental properties, and most of my properties are Section 8.
Okay.
And so obviously with Doji and all that kind of stuff going on, that should be interesting. But I've been through this several times where the cuts, but learned from that that certain things are likely to happen in the next few months with this program. And therefore, as you said before, if you're proactive, you can prepare and you can be really a beneficiary as opposed to a casualty. So, in short, one of the things that will likely happen is that they're going to cut funds and for various housing authorities across the country, which means that, if you have these problems, then they will not probably will get any more rent increases, approving any more rent increases. So if you want to increase your rent, you better do it now, because come next few months you won't be allowed to do that. So there's certain things you can do to increase your passive income and prepare yourself in such a way that you should be okay. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to increasing the passive income. I'm increasing to putting systems in place for my rentals with my tenants such that I don't need to be as engaged and really preserving and protecting my cash flow and also preserving and protecting my investments. So that's really the focus that I'm doing. And so far it seems to be working out quite well. I'm really excited, to tell the truth. These are good times.
Yeah. Are you concerned that because you have a lot of Section 8 rentals, that if any change is made, that it ends up impacting your ability to collect rents, that it ends up affecting the properties? And if not, if you're not concerned, why aren't you concerned?
Well, the way that the housing authority program works is that the tenant's portion of the rent is based on their income, unlike market renters. So if one of my tenants loses their jobs, for example, and their income goes down, then what they have to do is to go to the housing authority and provide them with their reduced income, and their portion of the rent goes down, and the housing authority's portion goes up. So, for example, I had one of my tenants who lost a job. She works for the government. She was affected by Doji, and her rent portion used to be $1,100 a month. That's how much she paid out of the total rent. After she lost her job, she went to the housing authority, and her portion went from 1,100 to zero. Okay, and the housing authority's portion kicked in the difference. So, I wasn't so impacted by the fact that she lost her income. If it
Mhm.
was a market renter and they lost their job, then that would be a very uncomfortable discussion. And they may be a great tenant, they just may not be able to pay you. And then you're gonna have to go through all that, eviction process, which it can be very expensive. So, so in terms of the Section 8 program, it's a relatively stable income stream if you get good tenants.
Mhm.
That's
But
the big caveat.
you're not worried that the rents may be cut. Let's say if it's based on the number of bedrooms and baths. So let's say a
Sure.
5 bedroom was being rented, the government is subsidizing it at what, like $5,000 a month. You're not worried that they may bring it down to 3,500 or 4,000? Are you not concerned about that?
It's never happened before in 35 years that I've done it. Typically they won't allow increases. So you cannot increase your rent. In terms of reduction, they may put some more portions on the tenant,
Okay.
so the tenants may have to kick in more of their, of the total rent. But I haven't had a situation. I know it may happen, but I would prefer Section 8 over market renters any day, any day. They tend to stay longer, and relatively speaking, their portion of the rent is less, than the total rent. So you have some guaranteed income stream coming through regardless. And so there's a certain you kind of cap your, what do they say, cap your bottom side or low side or whatever. That's you're an accountant, so you kind of put a floor on your downside,
Hmm.
which is the housing authority's portion. And the total rent may change, but at least you know that you're getting something, which is
Yeah.
usually the majority of the rent. So yeah, so the key though is really going to be to make sure you can identify quality tenants
Hmm.
who are going to stay in your property for a long time, and you treat them well such that you can ride out the storm. Because the storm will, there's going to be some turbulence, but the turbulent times will end at some point. You just need some quality tenants who are going to stay with you, and so you can maintain and keep your asset during that time.
Thank you. So that is a presentation of a way to keep your passive income, is having quality tenants, thinking about Section 8, because think about the fact that you have a good tenant who stays with you 15, 20, 30 years. Now they've paid off the mortgage, and now everything else that you get outside of insurance and taxes is now covered. That's now bottom line income, in addition to the principal pay down and then the appreciation on the property. That's why we continue to market real estate. Joe and I are one of the few people out there who always believe in the long-term buy and hold strategy, because the goal is to get you to more passive income that is not dependent on your active labor. So thank you, Joe, for that presentation. As we get ready to wrap up, do we have anybody who has any property that they want to market, anything they want to talk about their business before we wind down?
Hi, Miss Ebere. I have something I'd like to talk about the deal.
Oh, hi,
It's
Femi.
Hi.
Tell us a little bit. We only have about 3 minutes, so tell us about the deal
Oh,
that you
gee.
have,
Okay.
and then if anybody has any questions as we wrap up.
Sure. Thank you. I'm going to share my screen real quick. So let me just do that. Let me know when you can see my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Yeah. So this is I'm gonna run through this because we have a few minutes left. This is a deal that I'm working on with with the World Builders CPA, World Building CPA. It's a bus strategy whereby we renovate, refinance, and repeat. So this property, essentially, we're looking to raise funds to be able to do the rehab for this. We're looking for funding, raising funds from private lenders to do this deal. So we're looking to raise around $428,000 at 8% APR for a year. We have a commitment fee, as you can see here, and a fee deadline for May 30th, and also an investment minimum of $50,000. And also the capital commitment on June 6th. So essentially, what we're going to do with this property, like I said, is purchase it, renovate it. It's going to be rented. The exit for the project is at the refinance stage. That's where the lenders will essentially get their funding back. So this house is a 5-bedroom, 2.5 bath. We're looking to convert it to a 7-bedroom, 4 bathrooms. Again, there's here's some of the things we're going to be doing in terms of renovation and rehab project scope. I talked about this a little bit. So in terms of the project cost, the funds we're trying to raise, here's kind of the project costs, and here's the breakdown again of what the project funds are going to be used for. The purchase down payment, closing costs, rehab costs, and the holding costs. So again, there are 2 options for investing in this deal. For a private money lender, the offer again is the ask is for $50,000 minimum in the investment. You get 8% return, as you know, Mr. Berry was talking about earlier. Even high yield savings or CDs now will probably give you about 4% max. So essentially, you're doubling. If you have some money in savings, you're essentially doubling with this return. We're going to get 8% back, which is double what you would get with a high yield savings or CDs that would take probably the same amount of time. This is kind of essentially lower risk because it's collateralized by the property itself. Again, there's a guaranteed exit in terms of the refinance or sale after the rehab is completed. The other option again is for those folks we just talked about passive income. For those folks who may be interested in kind of getting into real estate and getting into the rehab, whether it's for long term or fix and flip as well. This could be an opportunity to also kind of do a look over my shoulder as the deal progresses. You'll be able to get into from the purchase side to when we do the rehab, kind of follow through essentially through the completion of the project, and now to exit those types of projects. So this is an example, kind of just real quick, a recent deal we just finished that was just completed. Again, purchase, bought the property, renovated. It took about 4 months for the rehab to completed. Then leased and then refinanced. We would refinance. The ARV for the property was about $1 million. We bought for $520. Rehab was about $250. The after repair value was about $1 million. So we're able to refinance that at 75% of the ARV. So we took out $750,000 rather during the refinance. That was essentially the exit for those to pay the lenders and investors in the deal. So I'll just kind of stop. I know we're at time, and I know I rushed over. So if there are any questions, happy to answer any questions. Or is there anything you want to ask, Mr. Bear?
Yeah, thank you. Can you please put the link form in the chat? I will be investing in this deal because, like I said, it's good to set aside money towards passive income. But what I compared it to is right now, Truist is giving me 4.25% for a 6-month CD. So I'm like, rather than doing the 4.25%, why don't I put this money into a deal? I know Femi, he's a client, and Joe is his coach. So, and I've known Joe for 20 years. So, and I know that usually when they do properties in DC, those properties do very well. So my strategy is, rather than earning 4% with the bank, why don't I invest this money that would have been sitting anyway in a savings and increase my return on investment? So we are technically done, but we're going to stay on to answer any questions that anybody has, whether about the deal or just general about real estate or about taxes, about AI, about investments. Again, like I said, if you have not yet prepared your personal financial statement, please reach out to your team lead, either myself, David, or Nicole, so that we can send you that personal financial statement. It's good to prepare that financial statement because that forms the foundation for all the other planning that we typically do. Does anybody have any questions, comments before we wrap up? Okay, well, thank you guys for coming to the meeting today. We have 3 more meetings every week. This time, 3 p.m., we will be presenting different topics that will be of interest to you as you build your wealth. So I will stay on unless anybody has any questions. We are done for today, and thank you.